Friends, and welcome to Strangers in the Night, your source for late night VR gaming talk. I, of course, am your host, Wes. With me, as always, my good friend Eric.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, Eric? Good to see you again, brother.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like I just spoke to you a couple hours ago, man.
I know we spent some time together the last couple days.
Yeah, fun, right?
Yeah, I had a blast.
Yeah, we're
Didn't
gonna
work
get into
exactly
that.
the way we wanted it to work out, but I still had a blast.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a learning experience, right?
It was.
Anyway,
Hey,
we'll get into
real
I'm
quick.
sorry,
Though,
go
is there
ahead.
any chance that we could just stop and then come back in like 10 minutes? Because starting on time just doesn't fucking feel right.
Yeah, no, right? It's kind of weird. Well, it's kind of hard to be late at like 1:30 a.m. Like, if you're going to be any later, you might as well just call it the Strangers in the Morning, right?
Yeah, it is strange in the morning for me.
That's true. Me too. Anyway, how you doing, Roots? What's up, brother?
I was thrown off by the fact that we're on time. I was hitting the wrong button. I actually, it's funny. This is a little known fact. The audio, it doesn't let you change the audio for our YouTube feed until it starts, right? And so, like, when I pull it up, I can't mute it. And then I always get into what we're doing, and then I hear that timer buzz, and it startles me, and then I scramble, and then I messed up. But I'm good. We're here, and I'm ready to talk some VR. I didn't get to have the cool bonding experience you guys had, but I had it with Scion, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's so cool that you guys got to finally experience that with well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, but super cool.
You know who else had it with Scion?
My mom!
Damn, Scion, he didn't tell me.
Who doesn't want to bond with Scion?
Speaking about audio, that reminds me, something cool happened the other day. I walked into my kitchen, and wife is listening to this true crime thing. We have like in a little Alexa box in the kitchen. I forget what they're called. Little Amazon thing that has like a 7-inch screen or something on it. You can watch things, listen to things on it, and it's all voice activated with Alexa. But I'm like, well, what are you doing? You just hanging out in here listening to radio drama? And she's like, it's true crime podcast. Alexa recommended it for me. And that got my wheels turning. Like, Alexa recommends podcasts, so immediately I interrupt it. Alexa, the whole thing stops. Yes, play Virtual Strangers podcast. Playing Virtual Strangers podcast. Most recent episode, Strangers in the Night, Edge of Nowhere. So, like, I just told Alexa to start playing our show, and it actually worked. It was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I don't wonder why she didn't recommend it. Makes you wonder, like, what if there was AI, and what if it didn't have your best interest? Like, would it push you towards like content that may not be the best for you, right? Maybe she shouldn't be listening to true crime, or maybe she shouldn't listen to Alexa. I don't know.
Maybe that's true. I don't know. Alexa's like any other AI. It's going to learn as it goes, right?
That's true.
So maybe if wife would be asking it to listen to Virtual Strangers a little more often, maybe it would recommend it,
That's true.
We should say Alexa one more time so everybody in there has already fucking turned her off about 10 times already.
Yeah.
Alexa,
Lights
subscribe to Virtual Strangers.
Sweet. Good call.
The device is listening now, D says. Don't stop saying that, Wes.
I'm sorry, Cheeto. I didn't mean to.
Hey, Radio Run
was an
says
accident.
he says he's here. Radio Run, Idaho. Did you know
Nice.
Idaho is having a potato shortage? Radio Run probably knows this. And some of you probably noticed your potatoes are a little bit
really?
scarce. Yeah.
There's a famine?
I just read the article this morning, which means it was the first time I came across my feed. Usually it'll pop up, and then the next 2 or 3 days, it'll be everywhere. It'll be pushed in everybody's face. But so I don't know how far it'll go, but maybe you won't be able to get French fries pretty soon here. Exciting times.
I mean, Idaho running out of potatoes is like going to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they're like, "Oh, we're out of chicken."
How?
You're like, "How the fuck does that happen?"
Crazy, right? Super crazy.
Yeah, it'll be crazy, but I'll just keep on living my life until
They'll come back.
the French fries run out, and then we'll start to panic about it.
Then we can go riot in the streets. Fuck that, man. I want my potatoes, damn it.
Hell yeah.
Traveling Man says tomatoes too. So all the 8-O's, apparently. There's a shortage of 8-O's.
Yes, yes. And Corporate Zombie says, Alexa, remind me to listen to Virtual Strangers podcast. Absolutely.
There you
And
go.
Q2C
There
VR
you
Gamer
go.
Live.
Yes, and Q2C VR Gamer Live.
Sorry, Alexa.
So I guess you're getting ready to shove off, right, Eric? Getting ready to fly away to
Man.
Germany?
Crazy.
I am. I'm out of here on Friday, man. I got to head to JFK Airport and down in New York City on Friday to start my long flight to get into Germany sometime around 9 a.m. on Saturday.
How cool. Get to go
Well,
to a new place.
So you're gonna be there on Saturday. The thing don't start till like Tuesday or something, right?
Well, it's actually two separate conferences in the same venue. There's DevCom, which starts on there's a DevCom dinner for speakers, starts on Sunday night. And then you have DevCom Monday and Tuesday, and then Gamescom starts Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I see. So Eric's not going to be with us next week, as he's going to be on a completely different schedule than us. Although, I mean, if we wait this late, I mean, it'll be bright and early morning.
Yeah, I could have coffee and Virtual Strangers.
Yeah.
But I've got I'm not going to spill the beans yet, but I've got a pretty cool replacement lined up for Eric next week. And who knows? I mean, if it goes super cool, Eric, you've got my phone number, bro. We can go live at any moment. So
I was gonna say, I was talking to my patrons tonight, man. I said, I don't know, we'll see something. I think we're gonna see something. These next two things, Gamescom or PAX. I'm just like hoping, and yeah, I will go live here, wherever I'll call you and we'll just go live right from the show floor, man. Anytime.
Yeah, just give me a call anytime, and I'll be waiting, watching my phone just in case something cool happens.
Wolvie's putting some German in the chat there for you. It says I love you. He wants you to use that everywhere you go. Mash.
Nice. I do love everybody, so that works.
Yeah, thank you, Wolvie. Anyway, yeah, we've got a guest host lined up next Wednesday if all goes to plan. You guys are going to dig it, I assure you. All kinds of cool things going on. I've been throwing teasers out there to the Patreon, Eric, about how 'tis the season for, good friends and collaboration. And we'll just leave it at that. But there's an exciting next couple of weeks are going to be pretty exciting if you're a fan of ours and a long-standing member of our community. Cool things are at work, right?
Yeah, I was doing the same thing, teasing our patrons tonight in our show prep meeting, and just saying, hey, big things are coming, and keep an eye out for the next couple of weeks. So, some announcements. It'll be fun. It's going to be very exciting. There'll be a buzz, Wes Roots. I think there's going to be a buzz in the VR world with this announcement.
I agree with that. I agree. And it should start, I would imagine by the weekend it'll probably be out, but I don't know. I'm not in the driver's seat here. But we're working on cool stuff. Nice projects, collaborations in the near future, and I can't wait to get started on that.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, we have a lot of A's. I mean, if you have 3 games that are all triple A's, as I count, this is a 9A episode, is it not?
It's crazy. It's a lot of A's.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Speaking of a lot of A's, there's a lot of A's in the chat tonight, so why don't we say hello to our friends in chat. Speaking of A's, there's Tiffany. What's up, Tiffany? Good to see you. Wolveraz is here. Why are you up so late, Tiffany? This is kind of weird. Tatum's in the house. Cheeto Wendy is here as well. GB, the Talk Positive Squid Cat, showing up. Good to see you. Lamplighter, what's up? Todd, nice to see you, friend. It's kind of late for Todd as well. What's up, man? Who else is here? Wolveraza, Corporate Zombies here. Traveling Man is here. Radio Runt, we already said hello to. What's up, Radio Runt?
Stop taking all the potatoes, Radio Runt. You need to start growing more, man.
Save some, bro.
Man.
We all rely on you.
We trusted you to protect the crop.
Yes, we sent you from California to make sure the potatoes were safe. And what have you been doing, bro? Game night, camping.
Kawa for now. What's up? Salvador, good to see you. Who else is here? Looks like Traveling Man and Corporate Zombie having a nice long conversation. Mike Newton's here, Four Wheeling's here, and of course, VR Spry Guy. Good to see all of you. Thank you for stopping by. Guys, what's up, Shagsy? Good to see you. Welcome. Guys, let's talk some games, and let's go ahead and start with this week's mod. As we decided to be topical for a change, Rooch, and actually do something that's current. Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered just hit Steam this last week, and leave it up to our friend Paradise Decay, picking it up the first minute it hits the store, trying it in Reshade, and happily reporting that the 3D in it is great. And fast forward a few days. Myself, Roots, Eric here, we all tried the same thing. And I got to say, I agree, Roots. The 3D and graphics in this, absolutely beautiful in the headset.
Yeah, phenomenal. So much so that even just watching the cutscenes, I was just like, wow, this is really good, I had issues with, I won't go into detail with virtual desktop. It's a whole bunch of bullshit. But when I held my head straight, I was able to play the game and see, and the 3D was so amazing. I played this game on probably two or 3 hours on PlayStation 5, same remastered version, and it just so much better. Looked so much better on this version, obviously.
Now, I did have to adjust some things in virtual desktop. The default settings, they're not very comfortable for me. Is that the same type of thing that you had where maybe the aspect ratio was off, maybe the screen was a little too close to your face, maybe the curvature was a little too much? Because I had to adjust all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, those are things I don't know, even when I looked at the aspect ratio just in the beginning when it was split, it looked like two screens and then one sliver on the side, and I thought, that's kind of know how that's going to look, but I mean, it seemed like it was fine. But always adjusting that stuff on virtual desktop is a big thing. I just I did take for granted, or I did, about not having your screen jitter around when you move your head, because virtual desktop is so amazing, man. You get that screen right in front of you, that huge screen, and you get lost in the game so much so. This is the thing, man. I love playing on flat games, but when you're in there and you have that 3D, it's not just the 3D in the game. Everything's blocked out. It's black. You know what I mean? You're zoomed into this experience. It's different. It's a different experience.
Yeah. It is. It's in between. Wouldn't you say, Eric? Like, it's not full on VR immersion, but it's certainly way more immersive than sitting in a room in front of a flat screen, right?
Yeah, I think Roots has it right. I mean, when you put the headset on, it blocks the rest of the world out. So you are watching this basically on a flat screen, but because everything else is blocked out, it gives you that sense of being in it, more than just watching it on a flat screen on your computer, where you still can see your room around you and you can still see all the lights and you can still see somebody walking by. When you put the headset on, all that is gone. And that allows you a sense of immersion that you can't get on a flat screen. So this isn't true VR by any means, but it's real damn close. And it can bring you in. And if you let yourself just kind of like be lost in it and just enjoy it, you'll get the feeling like you're in VR. You will feel it, because the 3D is good. It's good enough. And I mean, the game looks so damn good as it is that it doesn't bother me. And me and Roots were talking about this earlier, man. This is where we're going to be heading, man. I want PlayStation 5 or PlayStation VR 2 so bad. This just makes me want to play it like now.
How does Sony not have a VR flat of 3D mode? They have to have that coming, right,
Yeah.
Wes? Like, that has to come. Like,
Well, for those of you who don't know, the method that we used to play this in the headset was Super Depth 3D in Reshade. And yeah, Roots, when you see just how simple it is to apply something like that, and when you look at, you could see it on your screen what it's doing. It's not doing anything like super technical or super hard to reproduce, and that's why the compatibility is so wide. That's why it's so easy for inexperienced people to just pick it up and go with it. And yeah, having the limited experience that we've had with it over the last month or so has just made it ever so obvious that if Sony wanted to, they could make 3D theater mode a reality for PlayStation 4 VR, let alone PSVR 2. So yeah, I agree. Sony's kind of dropping the ball here, and hopefully this is a feature that that we see come in fairly short order to the next generation.
You know what's cool about Reshade, and I said this before, like people, you can watch PD's. I mean, not in the Reshade, but because he played it in Reshade, you can watch that whole video in the headset, right, in the virtual desktop, and watch the gameplay in 3D. It's super cool, and I just think that more people should be doing it.
But it's not 1-to-1. At least this PD Spider-Man video isn't 1-to-1, because before I went into the game and played it myself, I watched PD's video in 3D, and the 3D works really well. That comes across very well. But I don't know if it's the way that he captured it or what. But the aspect ratio is off. Everything seems stretched when you watch PD's video. It kind of worried me that might be what the game looks like when you get in there and play it. But when I got in and played, the aspect ratio was perfect. Everything was scaled correctly.
Yeah.
And the 3D, again, eye-popping.
Super eye-popping. And this is how easy it is. You can do this on any game, man. We've done it. I've done it on World of Warcraft. I mean, you can do it just about anything. Now, that one setting that PD said to change to 40, I didn't know to change that. I wouldn't have done that. I guess that helps, right? Whatever that.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's your depth setting. That's what you use to set the amount of 3D depth that you see inside the headset. So yeah.
Yeah, and your IPD. If you take care of those two things, it definitely helps.
Yeah. Anyway, let's easy to. Well, I guess let's do our scale like we did last week before we talk about the game itself. Ease of installation, I would 9.5 or 10 here, right, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, Reshade's so easy. If you're worried about anything, this is way easier than, what was the other one that we used to use? Vorpex, or the other one I was thinking was Helix Vision.
Helix Vision.
That easier than Helix Vision, where you have to grab a hook and you got to do all this stuff. Reshaded's so easy. Basically, as long as you can do virtual desktop, you can do this. And yeah, I mean, I would give it a 9 or a 10.
Yeah. Out of 10, Roots, ease of installation.
Yeah, I'd probably say 9 or so. Depends on. I mean, once you've done it, it's super easy for I mean, it's going to be easy every time forward. Just knowing that the main thing is, once you've installed, you install it for each game. So you click that install, it has you pick it for whatever game individually. And then you're going through that process. It's just, it's easy, but it's not as straightforward as some other things in the beginning. Right. But I thought I'd say about a 9.
Yeah, I agree with that. Not 9 or 10. It's super simple to set up, and after you do it the first time, you can pretty much do it with your eyes closed. Now, the second criteria we typically judge mods on are the kind of the VR implementation, and where this is a done on a virtual screen, it's a 0. This isn't a technically a VR mod, so we can't really judge it on that by that criteria. I mean, even at that, this is a third-person, controller-driven game. There's no VRness to it whatsoever, other than the immersion that you get from the 3D. So let's talk about the game itself. We often talk about how VR games have a chance to, or need to rather, catch up to the depth of flat games. How do you think that this game stands up versus the top shelf VR games of the day, Eric? In fun factor, depth, and progression.
Yeah, I mean, this is like an old school button masher, game, and it's got good story. It's got great voice acting. I think it's a lot of fun, man. I like these types of games, these button mashing games, these timing. You know how you have to, you got to hit that button in a certain amount of time, or you got to tap the button really fast to do these things. Well, these games are cool, man, and if you when you wrap everything with it, I mean, this is what you want in a video game to keep you engrossed in it, and I love it, man. And I was always a big Spider-Man video game fan, and I love it, man. I love it in Reshade. I wouldn't play this any other way again. If I'm playing, I would want to play it in Reshade in VR every time. And I've had this game on my PlayStation 5, and I haven't played it yet. And I'm so happy I played it and didn't play it in Reshade.
That was actually my next question for you: is would you play this game flat? Because I agree, a lot of this stuff is really immersive and fun, especially like the kind of in between sequences that are in between cinema scenes and action scenes where you kind of have some control but not all of it. That stuff really translates well to this kind of medium that we experienced it through. But I don't know that it would be the same experience on a flat screen.
Yeah, I mean that's why we don't we don't mainly flat screen any or flat screen game anymore, just because it kind of bores me now, and I need something like VR to get me back involved in it. And there are certain flat games I absolutely love. I mean that I'll play flat no matter. I wouldn't care. A game like this, I just wouldn't do it. It's not something like Returnal. I'll go play Returnal all day long flat. This game, just because of what it is, I probably wouldn't. But in VR, it's just something different. And again, this isn't true VR, but in a VR headset with reshade and 3D, it's freaking amazing. And these sequences that you do, and it just looks so good inside the headset. Again, it'll fool you. It will, because you'll get immersed in it, and all of a sudden you won't even be thinking about it that you're looking at a screen inside of it. You'll feel like
Yeah,
you're in VR.
yeah. You forget pretty quickly, especially if you have your settings tuned into what's comfortable for you in virtual desktop. Roots, what did you think about this game? I mean, the structure of the game's cool. It's puts you in a big city that you can roam around or swing around at your own pace, and you can progress the main story kind of at your own pace. And there is endless, side quests and missions to do, whether it's gathering items or just fighting criminals. But I played it for 3 or 4 hours, and it was by the time I got to the end of that 3 or 4 hours, it was already the side missions and things were already starting to kind of get repetitive to me. Like all of the crimes pretty much seemed like the same deal. You drop down into an area, there'd be a gang of dudes that looked identical to the last gang of dudes, and you just sit and waylay and button mash until they were all done. It was certainly fun for a little while. I don't know how much of that stuff is required to like progress your character so that you can continue on with the main story.
I don't think
But
probably any. I bet you could skip 100% of it or most of it if you want. Most games are designed that way. But you still want to do some
yeah.
of it, right?
Well, I mean, you get like for every one of those backpacks you get a token that you can use to upgrade your gear. For every crime spree that you break up, you get a token that you can use to upgrade your character. And all of it's tied into this XP system that as you level up, you get skill points, you unlock new abilities. What did you think about the overall gameplay loop here? Is this something, first of all, that you would continue to play out of VR, and second of all, is this something that you're going to continue to play in VR?
I mean, it depends if you like these kind of games. I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, there's a reason why I played it a couple hours on the PlayStation 5 and stopped. I mean, it's just not my type of game. I love the fluidness. It's an amazing game. I think it's deeper than most VR games. I think the open world, the scope of it, it's just huge. The elaborate, just everything about it. My biggest take about this whole thing as I was playing this, and I was telling Eric this, is, we play it here and we'll say it's amazing. And we'll say, man, I wish Luke Ross would make a mod. And you could play it the exact same way. And then maybe Luke does. He brings it into VR. Everyone's raving about it. It's fucking amazing. And then Sony comes out and they make an official hybrid game, third person, just like this, and everyone says, "Fuck, this is bull. What the fuck, man? It needs to be first person. You need to be swinging around." And it's weird because this isn't that much different than Luke Ross's mod, except for you can turn around and you can literally look at the full environment, right? But you're focused at the screen, and so you are turning, and that's a little bit different. The Luke Ross would be the next step. Sony would take it to the next level, but what I saw is a game like this would absolutely work in VR. I'm going to keep saying that. There's no reason why it has to be first person. It's a third person game. It's a game that everybody knows how to play. It's how it's always been. And we're going to see games just like this come into VR, maybe even PlayStation VR 2. And they may, Wolfie, don't hate me, they may be just the controller. And I would love it. I will enjoy the fuck out of it. So not everything has to be with motion controllers. Not everything does. One of the best games I've played on, some of the best games I've played in VR, Astrobot. You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain games that need to have a controller, and that's just the way it is.
What if they make them so where you're using the PlayStation VR 2 controllers, the Orb controllers, whatever you want to call them,
Just with the joystick?
but you're using joysticks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically you're taking the the DualSense controller and you're breaking it in half. So you got two controllers in your hand, but you're still using joysticks. You're still using buttons to take care of your things. But maybe they put some extra stuff in there. I mean, a little bit here, a little bit there. You can turn, whatever. They put something in there that makes it feel like you're doing something else with them.
Yeah.
Would that be enough, you think, for people?
For people, no, and I don't think that would be a big improvement anyway. I think that gamepad style controls on motion controllers is pretty much the same thing as a gamepad, with a very few exceptions. There are games like I don't know, I can't think of any offhand, but I know that there are games that having the motion controllers rather than the regular gamepad has made a difference, but most of the time it doesn't. And in fact, Roots, do you think it's rumored that Luke Ross is bringing this one into VR? Do you think that that's going to make all that big of a difference over what we're doing here with Reshade? Because I don't.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, the 3D might be better. Actually, will be better here. Luke Ross's 3D is speculative. But I mean, I think being in that world, maybe. I mean, my favorite VR game of all time is a VR mod in Red Dead Redemption 2, and it's because the game is amazing, but it's because the mod is really good too. So I'm torn. Even the Cyberpunk mod is so much better than all the rest. They keep getting better. I would imagine if it would be a really good version this time, or this next one's going to be really good because this is a newer game as well, right? So it's going to run phenomenal. And
oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. The 3D makes this experience for me. I would not play this for more than an hour or two flat. But this is something I absolutely while it's I do find this game specifically to be pretty repetitive and mindless. It is something that the production value in the 3D draws me in enough that, every couple of weeks, spend a couple hours in here, sure. And I certainly wouldn't be doing that flat. So yeah, the 3D definitely makes this for me. But the thing already takes up my entire field of vision. Like, I don't think that the Luke Ross mod is going to do anything except for maybe make the game run a little bit worse, and and let me turn my head. I guess that's something. But the game itself, see, everyone's different here. Obviously, you say that this has more depth than a VR game would have, or your typical VR game would have. And we've got Gamertag in the chat saying that he finished the Miles Morales game twice, flat, which I would never do that. For me, yes, there's a progression system, and yes, it's a big map to explore, but what you're doing is very mindless and repetitive. There doesn't seem like there's much skill in the button mashing. You can pretty much just hit whatever and it'll work. I would prefer a pretty basic VR game over, in terms of gameplay, a pretty basic VR gameplay loop is preferable to me over something like this, even with all of its progression and production value.
I
But
think
but that's me.
I think if you take the stuff out of it, take out, because this is super production, right? I mean, everything is done so well in this. The voice acting is great. The story is great. The visuals are great. Take that out of it. If this is a game that's made by an indie developer and this is the gameplay is not that exciting for me. And now there's a lot of people out there that like that Batman style of, button press combat, which is so cool. But just for me, flat, it's kind of boring for me. And I kind of lose, I just kind of lose interest in it pretty quick. And again, that's just, everybody likes different games, right? So it's okay. Just for me, it's not something I'd find. So to me, if you take all the big production out of it, this is kind of a mediocre game for me.
Yeah,
But with
the
production, it's amazing.
the 3D makes it though, right? Like when you see Spider-Man in this footage here, grabbing stuff with webs and swinging it all around, that's cool. It makes it seem like a VR game for a minute, and then you get right back to mashing your buttons and jumping around and doing all these pre-written acrobatics.
I think it'll be interesting if and when Luke brings this to a VR mod to go in there and play and see if we feel different, because maybe what we're describing is playing it on a screen, not being as exciting as being in the world, and maybe as good as it looks like in 3D, and we're looking at this screen, it's not the same as being in there, which even if, like in Red Dead, I've been in that world. I've spent 100 hours in that world, right? So I think that might be a different part of what you're talking about as well, as far as the feel, right?
Well, I don't think it's so much the format as the game there. Like, I feel like if we played Red Dead 2 in this format on a 3D screen, that it would be a way better game than this.
Well, you would have a better experience. But what I'm talking about is what you're describing and what Eric's describing. I think part of it could be that it's on a screen. I think it'd be interesting to go revisit it and see if maybe that's the case, or maybe it's not.
And we will when this happens, and I'm pretty sure that it is happening. So I guess, Roots, then the final question here is fun factor. First of all, 0 to 10, where do you put this? And second of all, is it worth people going out there, people who are watching right now, going out and dropping the money on it? It's $60 retail price. You can get it on sale for $47, $48. So we'll call it a $50 game. If you wouldn't mind, Roots, give me a 0 to 10 overall fun factor score on this, and then tell me whether or not you recommend it at $50.
I would say, I guess I have two fun factors. For me, I'm like you. I've played these games so much. I'm not that much into them anymore. I had like maybe a 5. It's not. I'll be honest. It's not what I was like. My number one thing I wanted to be playing tonight. But if for other people, if you're really into these type of games, Spider-Man games in general, I think it's maybe a 7 or an 8. I definitely would recommend it for people that are fans of Spider-Man or this type of game. It's amazing, much better way to play it in VR. If you already own the game, maybe you already went out and bought it. Well, fuck, I don't even know why you don't have Reshade yet. Get it, try it. It's really cool, and it just depends on what your like is of this type of game, right?
Yeah, I think it's fun, and don't get me wrong. Like, I think I could probably have fun in this game, playing it solid through about the length of a typical VR game. Like, when I start to get around 8 or 10 hours in this, I'm going to have to give it a break. I'm not going to be able to play through the entire 30 or 40 hours or 50 or whatever it takes to do all the stuff in this, but it is something that I would come back to. So I would call it slightly above average. I would give it like a 7 or an 8, maybe a 7.5. But I don't think I can recommend people drop $50 on this right now, unless you're a big Spider-Man fan or you're a big fan of button mashers. Then you might find it worth it. But when it goes on sale, when you can get this game 6 weeks from now, when it goes down to $30 or $35, I think that's a lot more palatable to me. Eric, what do you say? Score out of 10, and do you recommend it at $50?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I know everybody's kind of killing us in chat. We're nitpicking this game, guys. This is a triple. We already said that this is a AAA game. This is a freaking great game. It's just that everybody has a different play style of games that they like. To me, this was my third favorite game we played this week. Doesn't mean this isn't a great game, and doesn't mean it's not a game that I would go back to, especially in VR with Reshade. So I would give this game probably like an 8, a 7.5 to an 8. But again, I'm not. If I was going to gauge it on my kind of gameplay, I'd probably give it a little bit less. But I mean, I think for people who like this type of game, I mean, this is a high quality, really really good game, and I'll probably give it an 8. I'll give it a solid 8. I mean, this is a game that everybody should play, and if you're if you're a fan of this, go get Reshade and do it in VR because again, if you don't care about VR, number one, why are you watching the show? But two, this is one of the only ways to play these games. And now with the way we can do it with Reshade, you should be playing every game that we can in VR when it makes sense.
It's the
Um,
best
and
Spider-Man game ever made. Corporate Zombie says.
yeah, I don't
yeah,
disagree.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I know the
Yeah,
Miles Morales one's really really good too. So I think they're close. But yeah, I think it's really good and it's really well done in Reshade. This is a AAA game, man. That everybody should want to play.
and maybe Roots is right. Maybe when we play this in a month in full on VR, it pushes it up to a 9 or a 9.5. And what Tatum's saying here is absolutely true. He says that the combat was fun. It's not usually deeper than a regular button masher, but some of the other mechanics, like the research missions and car chases,
Swinging and
uh, yeah, all of that stuff. It's what makes the game in 3D, right? The car chases, the bigger action scenes. That's the best part of this game, and the 3D absolutely makes it. Yeah, I don't see myself giving this game any time at all if it were flat. But I could see myself. I would say I'll eventually come pretty close to finishing this if I don't finish it. It's just going to take me some time. I'm not going to play it solid through.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I really do. The more I think about it, I think because like when I'm in Red Dead and I'm like riding somewhere and I'm like going this way and I'm looking around and I'm doing different things, it makes a difference, right? I think swinging on that thing and going through the city and being able to look around you, and I just think it's going to be a big difference once you're in there, and I think it'll be really cool.
Well, I think that we will be revisiting this one sooner rather than later. I'm pretty sure Luke Ross, most of his mods, I think, lean heavily on Reshade anyway. So we know that this thing does super well out of the box with Reshade. So I'd say give it a couple weeks and we'll probably have a Luke Ross mod on our hands.
Yep. Technoglitch says no first or not first person. I'm out, and I 100% don't understand that.
You couldn't play this one. You couldn't play this one in first person. Like the swinging sequences would work, but the combat couldn't work.
Just everything about it. Like Mash was saying before the show, he said you're going to swing around the city for what, 15 minutes, and then you're going to want to stop. If it's first person and you're using your arms, it's a novelty. You're going to, after 15, 20 minutes, you're going to want to stop. You're not going to be doing that for an hour straight. Maybe you will. I don't know. I think it's the same thing as people saying, I'd love to have a VR treadmill. And those lazy fuckers don't even want to stand up for an hour, let alone walk on a treadmill. And I'm putting myself in that category. I want to sit down. And so I think a lot of things sound good in theory.
Yep. And I would do the Luke Ross, but I would prefer to wait what do we got, 4 or 5 months, and play it on the PS5 or PSVR 2.
Sure.
This is the thing, man. There's no reason not to go in. I mean, I'm not saying to play the whole thing, like, because I could think the same thing. I could say, well, maybe Red Dead 2 will be on PSVR. I'm out. I'm going to stop. But maybe it won't. And so I'm going to enjoy it now because I don't even know. Like, the world's so weird, and like maybe an asteroid hits us tomorrow. Like, who knows, man?
I know.
I don't think it will, though.
This game makes too much sense for Sony not to do. Especially Sony owning Spider-Man.
True.
I mean,
And
if they don't
Insomniac's
make this a
involved
PSVR
with
2,
VR.
yeah, make this a PSVR 2 freaking launch title and blow everybody's mind. And how many headsets do you sell?
Stormland launch title.
Dude,
That would
don't
be
even talk
amazing
about
with the
Stormland.
DLC.
As I said, this was my third favorite game I played for this week. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, I'll wholeheartely agree with that, and it's not really all that close. D says, you know who else likes a solid 8?
My mom!
Oh yeah, she does.
What does that even mean?
Gamertag says that he prefers Spider-Man over Red Dead.
Mm.
I don't know I could go that far. Like I was pretty blown away by Red Dead 2.
Dude, Red Dead 2, that story, okay, so I just found out that I have to figure out how to hunt, but I can hunt down a special white leopard, like the snow leopard, and I get an amazing like outfit with really cool snow leopard boots, which makes Arthur look ridiculous. I have to do it. Like, there's so much to that game.
You can't hunt white leopard, dude. It's 2022.
Well,
You go
I
to jail for
can't. This
that.
is 1890s. There's also slaves running around in that game. Although I've actually helped many of them. It's actually disturbing to see that going on in a game, like, because you start out in an area where it's not, and then you move to an area where it's kind of, they haven't really accepted it, and so I feel like it's a really good historical game as well. It's just really cool.
Yeah, I mean that one was so good that we decided after we were done with it that we were going to come back and do it again later because we want to keep playing it.
Yep, and we're gonna get Eric involved in that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, hell
We
yeah.
don't do that very often, so yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of pretty good, let's stick with this same developer. By the way, final word on Spider-Man. It's above average. It's really good. The 3D adds a lot to the game. It's still a little bit high priced, though. It just came out. I would wait for a sale, and I think that's pretty much the consensus, right? Did you say, Eric, whether or not people should go buy it now or wait?
I mean, I'd go buy it now. For $50, I'd go buy it now and play it. And Reshade, I would do it. Would I do? I wouldn't buy it if I was just playing it flat. I wouldn't pay that. But to do it in Reshade, I'd go buy it now.
And if you're
$50.
buying it just to check it out, I wouldn't buy it. But if you want to play it, if you legitimately were already thinking, man, I want to buy this game, this is just one more cherry on the top. Reason why to do it, right?
Yeah, you know what it is now. We've told you exactly what this game is, and if it sounds like it's a good game and your kind of game, then there's no reason not to get this because it's the production and what it is here is phenomenal. And again, if you like those old Batman style, Arkham games, you're gonna love this game.
Yeah, it's the deepest one I've ever played. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, it's good for sure. Anyway, let's stick with this developer, but move to a made for VR game in Stormland. This game came out. Bruce, can you believe this game is almost 3 years old now? It came out in November of 2019.
That's crazy. I did just I found that out. That's crazy. That was right before everything went crazy, right?
Yeah, just before. Yeah, just before the Oculus Quest came out and everything went crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'll tell you what, man. This is only 3 years old, but I couldn't. One of the number one thing I did in there, Wes, when I got in was I turned my settings up because everything was set to before, and I was only at 70% resolution for some reason. It's like, man, it looks really crappy. And then I started changing everything up, and then I thought, oh shit, 70%. Once I hit that bar, I was like, oh my god, it just looked phenomenal.
Well, you're starting out on one of the few negatives that I have to say about this game. There's so much to love here. But it wasn't long after this game came out that Insomniac was picked up by Sony. This, of course, was an Oculus exclusive. This was one of the last big Oculus Rift games that came out. But it isn't very well optimized. Now, obviously, we're just brute forcing it now with our new computers into running decently. But the reason why it was set back to 70%, Roots, is because the thing didn't run very good. I remember when we first played this, we were advising everyone to turn the clouds off. Like, the clouds are a pretty big part of this. You can tell people to turn them off. That's what we did. I remember it. But today, it runs pretty good on Oculus equipment. I tried this a couple of different times on my G2 through Revive, and it was just too choppy. It would run good for a minute, but by the time I was 10 minutes into it, I had to turn it off. I played this in my Rift S. I played it in my in my on my Quest 2, and both of those were smooth experiences. But that wasn't the only kind of optimization problem that we had, was it, Eric?
No, unfortunately, Insomniac has broken the game, or they didn't break it. Just I don't know, the game broke itself, or one of these Oculus updates broke the game. But for some reason, you cannot play co-op anymore, or we couldn't at least. Maybe
Oh,
somebody else can, but you cannot. We tried for probably 45 minutes to get into a co-op game, and you just can't do it. It would load a couple of times, like you were going to be brought into the other person's world, and then it wouldn't work. It would bring you back to your own world, or it wouldn't go at all.
Yeah, and I did take it to Google to see if it was just something we were doing wrong or something we were missing. And this is a problem, a documented problem for a few people, dating back years at this point, having the same things that we were having, where the join button was red and you weren't able to push it. Sometimes you would be able to invite, but you never could join through the invitation. Sometimes it would let you push the invite button, but it wouldn't send the invite. But it's not just us. And I got to think that if Insomniac were still a free agent, that this would probably be fixed by now.
Yeah.
And this
absolutely.
we're kind of getting this out of the way first, because this is probably the biggest issue with the game, and everything else from here should be pretty much praise.
I wonder if it's just you guys that, I mean, obviously there was other issues, you know, said dating back a couple years, which tells me that maybe I could have gotten in with Wes, or I could have gotten in with Eric, or, you know what I mean? Maybe it's not everybody across the board. I'm just curious, because I didn't try to get in, you know, when Cyan and I played it, we were able to do it, but that was a couple years ago. But at the same time, other people were still having problems, right?
We got in and did a money show from Stormland a couple years ago, so it's not like it was broken to begin with.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
And I don't know if it affects it. Yeah, I don't know if it affects everyone or not, but I know that I read on probably 4 or 5 different message boards people describing our problem exactly, and people leaving comments like, yeah, I'm having the same problem, I'm having the same problem, I'm having the same problem. So it's not just us. There's a lot of people having it. But I don't know if it's everyone or not. I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, GT says he remembers you have to do something. You have to play about an hour into the game before you can even get the multiplayer, and then you get a nodule that you attach to your robot's body that allows you to play multiplayer. And we had that. We knew what we were doing. It just wouldn't work. But yeah, you have to go about an hour into the game.
Yeah, and you don't even have the multiplayer menu before you get that add-on. So like, if you have the multiplayer menu in Stormland, then you've made it far enough. You can do multiplayer, and we both had it, so that's not the problem. Anyway, we did something a little different. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this, but we just stayed on voice chat, Eric and I, and we just played through it in single player mode together and did the same things at the same time. And I gotta say, man, it was a lot more fun doing that than it would have been just playing by myself.
Yeah, because I mean, that's one thing that's nice about something like co-op, is you can talk to each other and you can like say, holy crap, did you see this, or did you see that, did you go over to this area, and when you're talking about a game that looks as beautiful as this game and plays as good as this game, there's so many moments where you're like, oh my god, did you see that, or did you look over here? And it's just cool when you can do that with somebody. And yeah, it was a cool thing to do, and even to the point where we went back and did the same thing again today, and because we both wanted to get back in, and I wanted to finish the game because I had never finished it originally. I played pretty deep into it the first time around 3 years ago, but I never finished it. And I started over from scratch yesterday, and I finished it today.
Oh, nice. Did you feel like you accomplished anything, or did you feel like they should have put a story ending in there?
It would have been nice to have the story ending, that's for sure. But I understood what they were trying to do, and perhaps if things went differently and Oculus would have bought them instead of Sony, I think there would have been a different outcome. So I understand what Insomniac was trying to do. And I think they probably would have fulfilled it if things didn't happen differently.
I'm glad Sony picked them up, because Sony's, It's just different, man. You know what I mean? Spider-Man is VR is going to happen with Oculus. That maybe, who knows what the fuck they're going to do, or Meta, I should say. But
So,
I'll tell you what, this game was way ahead of its time, wasn't it, Wes? Like that, not only graphically, but just everything. This has AAA all over it.
yeah, this is a true AAA VR game. It's about what, 10 hours, Eric, start to finish in this.
Yeah, that's about what I put into it the last 2 days.
But there's a lot of things going on here, and while you don't have the endless side missions and stuff going on like Spider-Man, there's a lot of different facets to this game. Whether you're talking about progression, whether you're talking about kind of grinding and collecting, there's crafting, there's exploration, there's first person shooter gunplay in it, and that's kind of the core that the game's built around. But what's probably better than all of that, which all that stuff's great, is the movement in this game. The fact that you're kind of moving island to island, surfing on clouds, and the fact that there are tall peaks in this game, and you can climb everything easily. And then when you get to the top, you can just jump off and glide across the map, Pop One style. Roots, I kind of feel like the movement in this game is special, and it might be the best that I've experienced in a VR game.
It just feels good. Everything, even just grabbing onto the mountain and flinging yourself up to get up really fast. You know, the upgrades in this game actually matter. They actually make you move better. You start jumping higher and being able to shoot and bounce up off the clouds and fling up. And I mean, when you get the movement down in this game, it makes you feel like you're like a robot flying around. Makes you feel like a superhero almost, right? This is exactly how, if I could see like a superhero move game, maybe. And I guess it's good that Insomniac is the one that made this, because I could see a superhero game being made like this, and it could be really amazing. That was the biggest thing that I that was missing from this, was like a really overall story. Other than that, it's just super amazing.
I haven't played it through the end. I've still got probably 2 hours to go before I finish it. But I feel like through the game, they do a pretty good job of telling a story. Now, maybe they don't conclude it, and maybe that's what you're talking about, Roots.
No, it's just not. It's not. I mean, for as AAA a game as this is, the production that their story took is minimal. There really wasn't. It was, yeah, you can read it, and they're telling you little bits and pieces, but from a production value, it was like a 2 or a 3 versus everything
really?
else being a 9 or a
disagree.
10.
I completely disagree with that. It's not all. I don't think any of it's told through reading. It's all told through narration and the character interactions. There isn't a whole lot in terms of like cinema scenes, but
So
there's
maybe that's
definitely.
what I'm thinking of. I don't know. I just my overall impression of it when I played it was it was almost non-existent, to the point where I don't remember much of it from the entire gameplay. Whereas the next game that we're going to talk about, I played it through one time when I first got my PlayStation VR, and I remember all of it because the story was AAA. It was there. It existed. I'm not saying that it didn't exist here, just in a different form. I don't think this story held up to everything else.
I think the ending has put the bad taste in your mouth, and for you, and that's how you remember it. Because to me, I just played it. I just played it start to finish, and I thought the story was fantastic.
It's story driven, right? Like, this is a heavily story driven game.
Yeah, like we very rarely disagree this much between the two of them. Usually we're pretty much right on with each other. And I'm like, no way. This is, to me, you're saying like a 2, and I'm saying like this is an 8. I love the story. I love the interactions between all these different types of robots, the story of these aliens and what they're doing with the Spire, and the different things, and what's happening to these robots and how they're evolving. I think it's really, really well done. But you're right, the ending, because they didn't get a chance to finish or do whatever they were planning on doing, it just feels like it's a to be continued. They're like, here, more to come, and then there is no more to come. Or they tried to make some type of end game to it, that just didn't pay off, and that's where I think you have a lot of bad taste in your mouth because
Probably.
there
Because I
is
do
no
remember
conclusion.
some of what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's no conclusion. You know what I mean? There is no conclusion to it to where you're like, oh, okay, there's no big reveal, like, there it is, because they're teasing more, but there was no more. There was no more because they got bought out. So, but leading up to that, I thought it was great.
So reading through the chat here, I must be getting into the middle of another conversation. Radio Runt says Defector is a better game. He can't be talking about this, right? Like Defector's great, certainly underrated, but it is not on the level of Stormland.
No.
And it's not even close.
No, Stormland.
I love Defector too.
Defector was great because it was so affordable for a good game, but it's not on the level of this. The thing about this that really left a bad taste in my mouth is the same reason why Gamertag probably never finished it. The cycles. You know, you have to finish it in a certain amount of time, and if you like maybe something happened and you walked away from it for however much, was it 2 weeks, it starts over.
It's a week right now. Yeah.
And so
5 days.
yeah, so like you have to finish it in a certain amount of time. You can't just like walk away from it for a month and come back. If you do, it starts over. And then at that point, most people are like, I'm out. Like I've already fucking played half of the game. I'm not playing it again. So I don't know exactly. I mean, I know that there's reasons for it. I didn't care for the cycle thing.
I think that they probably, the way this looks to me, and I don't know, this is just my speculation. I think they probably had post-launch DLC in mind that they were going to launch with this. Like, I don't think that the endless cycle was supposed to be the end of it. I think that they probably planned on releasing another DLC or two story DLC that kind of carried it on. But they got picked up by Sony. Now, with that said, there's a rumor out there that not only is this getting remastered for PSVR 2, but there's a sequel coming as well.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
That'd be awesome, right? Because Diego Darko asks in the chat, if this game is really AAA VR, then why isn't it mentioned with games like Saints and Sinners or Half-Life Alyx? I think it absolutely should be mentioned in the same breath of those games. I think that this game released within a month or maybe 2 months of Asgard's Wrath, and when Asgard's Wrath came out, it kind of overshadowed everything that was out at that time. But this is among the best that VR has to offer, even still today. And there's a reason. There's a reason why we're talking about it. The second week we've started going into the best of the best, and we're doing Stormland because it absolutely belongs here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How good is it? Let's talk about the gunplay.
Oh yeah, that's good.
The different guns, right? Like I was really impressed even today, crafting different guns and just trying them and the way they feel, the recoil, and it's just good, right?
Yeah, it had way more variety than I expected it to have. I thought it was going to be a little simplistic in that department, like a Half-Life Alyx, where you've got 3 or 4 guns to choose from and that's it. But no, there's like 6 or 7 guns, and each gun has 3 different versions or more. Didn't you say you found a version 4 of one of these guns, Eric?
Yeah, you can make up to I've seen where you can
5.
make up to a version 3.
I think you can get up to 5, I believe. I thought you can get to level 5.
Yeah, I found several 4s towards the end of the game. You know, on
Maybe it was 4.
enemies' bodies.
Did you not ever craft 4, Eric? I crafted all the way up to the top.
I crafted to 3, and then it ended for me.
You didn't get all
that's
the way
as far
up
as
there.
I've made it. That's as far as I've made it is level 3. But let me tell you, man, I can bust some ass with a level 3 shotgun, the level 3 sniper rifle is amazing as well.
The AI is pretty damn good too for the enemies, right? And that's another thing. So many games don't get the AI correctly when it comes to enemies. That's why I love Destiny 2 so much. Like they should be evading and trying to get around you and flank you and do weird shit, man. That makes it feel real, right?
Yeah, this might be among the best I've seen in VR in that regard. Like, typically, stupid game AI will sit there and let you kill it, and the enemies in the beginning will, but as you progress to like the level 2 and level 3 enemies, you start shooting those guys. They take cover, and they absolutely try to sneak up behind you and flank you on both sides and work as a team. Yeah, the AI is very, very impressive in this game.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, well done.
So yeah, I think Diego Darko wondering. He says there was multiplayer. Yeah, it was co-op multiplayer, and it worked in the beginning because Roots and I tested it. It absolutely worked. But
It's probably like
maybe
everything else. They're just not supporting it. I mean, to have multiplayer, I don't know. Maybe it's not this way. Did they use servers or was it on a
we tried quick
local?
play. Yeah, we tried quick play too. So we didn't just
Yeah.
try and join each other. We tried to do quick play where you can join anybody who's out there searching for a game. And I let it spin for many minutes and I couldn't get a connection.
Bummer.
Anyway, yeah, it's hard to think of too many games I would rank above this in terms of quality in VR. I would say that we could pretty safely call this a top 10, top 15 game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would.
What about you, Eric? Top 10, top 15?
If this game launched today, exactly the way it is right now, and by a miracle they put this game on the Quest 2, this would be probably the best game you'd ever play. This would be like the number one. Now, I don't think they could ever get this on a Quest 2, but I'm just saying that when this launched with virtual reality 3 years ago, we were not in the state of VR that we are now. There was nowhere near the amount of headsets. There was no near the amount of PC VR headsets or a $300 PC VR headset for that matter that you can use in the Quest 2. So, and the popularity wasn't there. And you got to remember, this was a Rift only exclusive. You were not playing this unless you were playing it on the Oculus Rift store. So, it was limited to what it was. And I think it would have been way more popular if it launched today. And right now, today, it would be one of the most beautiful titles you'd ever play. The gameplay is great. It's fast. The climbing, you can one hand wing yourself up like Pop 1, but easier.
Yeah.
It's way easier. It's
way easier. The shooting is good. They have a variety of weapons. The progression is great. You can change so many things on your body and upgrade. You can rip your freaking arm off, put it in the machine, have it reproduce and make it into something better, and then pop it back on your body. I mean, there's so many cool things in this game, and man, everybody needs to play. I wish they would be able to put this on a headset that everybody. If you have only a Quest 2 and you have no PC, go get Pluto Sphere and go play this game. This is one of those games that everybody should play.
I just unlocked the dive bomb Roots right before I quit playing. I haven't tried it yet, but you can upgrade your frame so that if you land hard in a bunch of enemies, the shockwave will take them out.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it. That's what's so good about this game is like everybody has a different approach, right? Like even the sniper, they have the sniper gun. I'm sure you love that, probably Wes, right? Using that one.
Oh yeah, the version 3 sniper is awesome.
Kills.
Yeah, I love it. And
you can stealth it too. If you want, if you don't want to go in guns blazing, you can sneak it and stealth it, and you can sneak up behind these enemies and rip their freaking power cells right out of their backs, and they just crumble.
Yeah, that's what's cool. And there's as you progress there, you start to come across different types of enemies, right? That aren't as easy as like that. That's actually not 100% easy, like I don't know. I really enjoyed playing multiplayer. Kind of a bummer you guys couldn't get in there because there is something about attacking the same mob together and sharing resources and just everything. Hopefully it's not for everybody, but it would make sense. I mean, Oculus is already pulling out with their support on so many ways. Why would they continue to support if it's server based a game when most people don't even know is out there?
Well, I'm just going to say that I, for one, hope that the rumors are true and that Insomniac took this title with them. And maybe they're disappointed that they didn't get to finish it and make it into what they originally planned. And if that's the case, they'll have every opportunity to do that as we move into the next generation.
It's going to be on superior hardware. This game is already amazing on as it is, but make it better. And that's going to be awesome.
It's in my top 10 of all time VR games.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. It's hard for me. Like, I want to say that. I want to say that it's top 10, and it might be. But when I start thinking about how many other great games there are, especially on PlayStation, like, Like there's a lot of great games. It's kind of hard even to like to rank a top 20 would be very difficult because there's so many great games up in that upper echelon. Like yeah, the placing of them really don't matter so much as to which ones are there and which ones aren't.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not many games I'll sit and just play. I mean, finish a game in 2 days. I mean, literally, I just don't have that kind of time anymore. And I wanted to finish this game today. I wanted to come into this conversation and say that I beat this game because I didn't do it 3 years ago. I remember it was just like anything else. I mean, this is a great game that you just can't get through because just something comes up. And there was a million games coming out around this time, if you guys remember.
Asgard's
And
Wrath.
it was
for
so
sure.
busy.
That was the
Yeah,
one.
how stupid was that they launched this and Asgard's Wrath so close together?
Yeah.
Absolute insanity.
Yeah.
Anyway, you said, Eric, that there aren't many games out there that are so good that you just played straight through them. What about Farpoint? How long did it take you to play through that one?
This was probably, it had to be at least 10 or 12 hours for me, I think. And I remember, and I played through it, and I played 99% of it in one sitting. And if I knew how close I was to the end, I would have finished it. It was like 4 in the morning, but I remember it was the first game I got when I got my PSVR 2, or PSVR VR headset, I mean, the one. And it was the first game I played, and I just sat and I played it till like 4 in the morning, and I was exhausted. And I was so close to finishing it. I finished it the next day, but this is a great game.
This is the perfect example to have on the episode with a game like Spider-Man. We talked about how deep the progression is in Spider-Man, how there's a huge map that you can go anywhere you want on and do anything that you want on. It's heavily story driven. There's so many different aspects, whether it be puzzles or lab work or what have you. AAA production value. But at the end of all of that, it still felt kind of shallow to me and repetitive. And then we have a game like Farpoint, which is completely linear. There's next to no progression in it. You can progress the guns a little bit, but pretty much what you find is what you get. Really, there's not much to the gameplay other than moving forward and shooting. And yeah, I mean, it's a perfect example to me of how VR immersion is more valuable to me as a gamer than game depth, so to speak. Farpoint's a game. I probably have more hours in this game than any other game in VR. I've played through the campaign many times. I played through the challenge mode countless times, the co-op. This is a game that I could never get tired of. And in terms of depth, it might be one of the most shallow games in VR. But it's great. It's a simple concept executed perfectly. And for that reason, this is probably a top 5 VR game for me. What do you think about Farpoint, Roots?
I love this game. The thing about Farpoint for me was absolutely the story. It was like, even today, as I was going into it, I found myself drawn into watching this story, and I realizing that, and if maybe I heard incorrectly, but they could have gotten out of there before it happened, or at least tried to, but like she decided not to, and I didn't really catch that part. I just really fell in love with it, and if the story wasn't so good, I don't know that the game would be as good as it is. There's so many other aspects to it, but the story is so good, and the acting and everything about it. The cutscenes are so long. I mean, this is a walking sim, but it's not. It's not a walking sim at all. But you could it could be a walking sim because there's so much story to it. And then on top of it, you have all the amazing action and firefighting and everything. But this is one of the best games I've played in VR. Absolutely.
Yeah, the storytelling is great. That's for sure. And the story itself is great. The twist is awesome. And it certainly keeps you motivated to move forward through the campaign. But I wouldn't say that that's the best thing for me. For me, the best thing is the gunplay, the action. Like, because, I said I've probably spent more time in this game than any other. The majority of that has been challenge mode. just running through the levels, speed running, shooting. They made this game, Eric, for the aim controller, and you can tell because I can't imagine one without the other. Like I can't imagine loving the aim as much as I do without Farpoint, and I can't imagine loving Farpoint as much as I do without the aim. It's like peanut butter and jelly, right?
Yeah. This game, exactly what you guys are saying, this game is the epitome of a game that is the sum of all of its parts. Because I don't think that any part of this is particularly groundbreaking or amazing. But when you put it all together, it becomes one of the best games I've ever played, and it is in my top 5. And the only reason I said that Stormland was the favorite game I played this week is because it was brand new, and I've already beaten Farpoint. That's the only reason. This is one of my favorite games of all time. It definitely is in my top 5. But overall, it's everything. Like even the gunplay. Gunplay is good, but it's only really good because of the aim controller. If you didn't use the aim controller, it wouldn't be as good. The
Right.
story is amazing, but I wouldn't want to do just the story. I need something else to pull me through, and it just enough to make it interesting with the gunplay. Like you said, there is no progression, but there is just enough to keep you in there. The visuals are another part because I don't know if it wasn't as pretty of a game as it is, if it would be as good, because it is kind of linear and you're kind of like walking on a path that you can only go on one way. But everything all together makes probably, again, one of the best games you'll ever play. It's hard to describe. If I was trying to tell you, it's hard to describe why we love this game so much. Because again, not one thing can say this is the reason why this is a great game.
Gorgeous, man. This planet, when I was looking at this planet, I was like, holy shit, man, that looks better than most planets in almost any VR game I've seen today. You know, nobody can get the planets right, it seems like. It just is looks amazing on such an old headset too, 6-year-old headset, right? So,
Yeah, and I think if we did have to point out one aspect that's the most important to the experience, it might be the production value because the storytelling's great, but really, would it be as great if it didn't look as and sound like it did? Like they convey it perfectly because it's so realistic. The sure it's linear, but it's wide linear, and you feel like they nailed the vibe of being stranded on an alien planet where you don't know what's around the next corner. Like when you land on that planet and you start moving forward, you feel like you're on Mars or something. And they nailed that. And then when it comes to the gunplay's great with the aim controller, but it wouldn't be nearly as satisfying if those enemies didn't do what they did after you shoot them. Like they blow up, they turn into a bloody mess. Even Roots, the ones that explode, they turn into shrapnel, and the physics is perfect, and things are rolling downhill and splattering everywhere. I think the production value of this game is probably the most important aspect of the immersion that they accomplish with it.
yeah, absolutely, because everything's on par, right? Everything's on point. And like I don't know if I found myself, and I've said this before so many times, like watching the story and literally being, usually I'm ready, like, come on, get this cutscene over. Like I was legitimately bummed out when the cutscene would end and I'm like, oh shit, I'm back. Like I'm ready to go do my next thing. I'm like, like, because I really was invested in this whole entire story as it was being told. And this is just a perfect example of really good storytelling, because a lot of VR games try to do it. But if you can get to the point where the person is bummed out that it's time for amazing gameplay, that's a good sign. That means your story's really good.
Yeah, at the midway point of this game, there's a section of cinema sequence that probably goes on for like 8 or 10 minutes. What other VR game could get away with that? Like people get mad if there's any kind of cutscenes in VR, but in this game, it was like a strength of the game, and to the point where literally they have you sitting in your seat watching for minutes and minutes and minutes, and nobody cares because they're gripped by the story.
That's how you want a story to be. How many movies do you have where you're distracted by everything. You know, your phone, other people. What I mean, I don't go to the movie theater anymore, but whatever it is, that tells me it's not that good of a story. It's not. You know, stories are supposed to enrapture you. You're supposed to get really into it, right? And then on top of it, now I will say I did try this game. When I first tried it, I played it with a controller, and it sucked ass. It really without the game controller. I was like, Wes tried to warn me, and I was like, nah, it'll be good. And I tried it for
out,
like
right?
15 minutes, and then I was right down buying a controller from GameStop. So
It could be the aim controller is the most important thing, because if you wouldn't play this game without the, if you hated the game because of the way it worked,
it's hokey.
You wouldn't
Holding the
even do it.
controller trying to point it. Like I would rather just use a regular controller and have my hands not even in the thing, right? Like
Here's the crazy thing. Like at this point, the aim controller is this mythical, beloved peripheral, right? Everyone loves the aim controller. Imagine there was no Farpoint and there's no firewall. Do you think anybody gives a shit about the aim controller then?
No,
Probably not.
you need the controller for it. Now this is the thing though. How about an aim controller that's got tracking, like the inside out tracking controllers, the new ones? You know what I mean? Like, cause that's the only thing about the aim controllers. You know, it does drift as the battery dies. It starts to lose its, you know.
Yep. I mean, it does. The drift is annoying, but
Oh, yeah.
but the game's so good that you, even at that point, you don't like stop and charge your controller. You keep going and you just shake it out every 30 seconds, right?
You know who else likes it when you shake it out every 30 seconds?
My mom!
Oh, yeah.
This is how good Farpoint is, okay? Farpoint is so good that people hate Larcenauts. Larcenauts is a good game. It's a high production value Overwatch clone in VR that everyone hates. And why does everyone hate it? Let's be honest. Everyone hated it because it wasn't Farpoint 2. And that's what we all want from Impulse Scare.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, what can we say about this game that we haven't already? It's such a great experience. Well, how about this? Like, pretty much everything we've said up until this point is talking about the story campaign. But there's something in this for everyone. We already mentioned there's co-op mode, which puts you through a number of maps with you and a friend.
And it works.
And
That's
it works
nice.
great.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. There's player versus player, which is 1v1, but with the twist that you can spawn enemies, like for the game enemies, you can spawn them and send them after your opponent.
Oh.
So it's a very unique 1v1 PvP mode. And then on top of all of that, if that's not enough, there's the challenge mode, which is probably where I've got most of my time in, which is a speedrunning mode where you have 30 seconds to make it to this point. You have a minute to make it to the next point. There's enemies from start to finish, and it's scored. So at the end of it all, if you make it to the end, they put your score up on the leaderboard. I got addicted to that for a long time and just ran it every map. I probably had more fun in challenge mode than I did in the story mode, and I love the story mode. So
You
not
play that
only
a
is
lot
this
with
a
your family too, right? That's so cool.
Yep.
To be able to play with your wife or your kids and just go through all these cool things. I played with you one time. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, I've played every map with everyone that lives in this house except for my youngest. So me and the wife did every map. Me and Isabel did every map. Me and Brody did every map. And I'm sure one day me and Chris will do every map.
Tomorrow.
Probably tomorrow.
And the boss battles too, right? I was just thinking about the boss battles, man. There's some cool, big, old, freaking huge bosses in
This
here.
game's
That's just
not
like,
easy either, man. Like that
No.
one thing that was shooting stuff down at you for a while. It took me a while to get past some of these spots. That's crazy.
Well, Verizon says the same thing PC guys always say. Mini stock does me just fine. Mini stock, gun stocks, it's not the same thing. It's just not.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I said the same.
It's
I said the
different.
same thing till I got it. I thought you look at it and you're like, this thing is goofy looking. It doesn't make any sense. I'd rather give me a realistic looking gun stock. It'll be better. This thing's amazing. And again, it's not used enough, but when you get your hands on it and when you do it and in the headset, it just feels right.
Got haptics. It makes you feel like you're holding the gun. The proportion of the guns in the games are perfect to the proportion of the controller in real life. Yeah, it's a different experience totally. You know.
There's something
Yeah,
about
they
it
need
being one
one
piece.
for the PSVR 2.
What's
They
that?
either need to make this one compatible, or I'd like to see them come out with an aim control too for the PSVR 2.
Well, I'd love to have a new one with the new haptics in it and adaptive triggers.
How cool would it be if they had a new one that had the two controllers, but they came together and snapped into one to make, you know what I mean? Because that's the biggest gripe about that is like, okay, you bring a game over that maybe has two controllers and you're like, okay, we got to adapt it now because you don't have two hands. You only have the one controller. So we have to tailor everything to that instead of having something that maybe breaks apart into two. And then that way you could do both versions, right? And still feel the same.
Yep.
Ben L asks if we feel like the loading times are too long. Probably did back in the day when I was playing this on PS4. It actually loads pretty quick on PS5.
Yeah, it's just like anything else. You know, you go play Iron Man today, which I'm sure we will in this near future. It's night and day difference than PlayStation 4, even Pro, right? Like it was a nightmare load times. So,
but yeah, I can remember a few times waiting on that thing to spin.
There's nothing worse in VR than sitting there looking at a load screen. I mean, it's already bad on a flat screen TV, but I can look at my phone. There's a lot of other things I could be doing. I'm not just staring at this fucking spinning circle. You know what I mean? Like the same
here's
thing
the cool thing. You don't have to just sit there and stare at the spinning circle. You can play the game where you knock the action figures into the porthole. So
yeah, that's true.
There's that.
Yeah, that's true.
GB, the Talk Positive Squid Cat says orbs could do it with a connector. So you're talking about putting the orb controllers into a gun stock.
Right.
Maybe it would work. I know that Gen 1 gun stocks that I've tried have not lived up to the aim controller. So maybe with the new controllers, that it'll actually work a little bit better. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, if Sony does it, it would be a lot better than, just taking two orb controllers and trying to slap them together with a gun stock.
It's true. Yeah.
Either way,
peripheral, it'll be legit.
Either way is this. Top of my wish list, Farpoint 2, Stormland 2.
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2. I take it.
I'll take it, man. Miles Morales in VR. Actually, give us a new one. You know, don't. I mean, it's good. Spider-Man Remastered is great because none of us have really played much of it. I had played a little bit, but a lot of people already played that shit. So, give us a new one.
I think if they do Spider-Man VR, that it needs to be. And I know we just talked about how every game doesn't have to be first person. I think Spider-Man VR needs to be a first person VR game. I do.
Yeah. That'd be good. That'd be cool. Like if they did it right, I guess it could be cool.
Oh, it would be great. The movement alone would be enough to buy the game.
Yeah, anyway. But I don't know if you could do swinging like that in VR. Oh wait, we got Windlands 2. We got Swarm. We have
Resist.
Yeah, we have a lot of examples that it does work. Not only does it work, it works very well.
Great. Anyway, Farpoint, as it stands today, in my opinion, is a top 5 VR game overall, all platforms considered, even now, some 5 years after it came out. If you don't have this game and you have a PlayStation, what's the matter with you? If you don't have a PlayStation, you might want to think about it, man, because it's not just Farpoint. There's a bunch more awesome games in that library still, and we're going to talk about that as we progress through the weeks leading up to PSVR 2.
Yeah, you may not be able to get a PS5 when it comes down to it. You know, how crazy would it be? All these people waiting for the PS5 for when the PlayStation VR 2 comes out. And Sony does follow suit of the world and raise their console prices, which it's not probable, but it's possible. It could happen. I've seen articles discussing, is it going to happen? So like from that standpoint, I kind of feel like, there's a lot of times in life where waiting on things can benefit you because it could become cheaper, but we're kind of in a weird place where there's a possibility it may be more expensive or not even there. So I'd say pick it up now. So
Diego Darko says a patent from 2020 for a new aim controller resurfaced recently. Yeah, I saw that. Polish Paul put that out there. It does have an extra button on it, the mode button, which is interesting, but it also has the light ball for tracking on the end. So it's pretty clearly a PSVR 1 peripheral that most likely got canned and will never see the light of day.
Right. How successful was the aim in Sony's eyes, do you think? I mean, that's the thing. Was it successful enough to do again is the question. So
I don't know. I mean, if we're gonna look at it like that, how successful was PSVR really? I mean,
in general, but that's a technology that they know is being pushed. That eventually it's going to take off, and so it's kind of like the peripherals are different, And you and Eric are perfect examples of the wheels that just don't ever get used, very much. It's a great thing to have. A lot of people use them all the time. I would never use it. That's why I don't have one, because
I would probably use it more if I could keep it over here with my computer.
Right, if you could have like a dedicated space for it, absolutely, right?
Yeah, but for me, I've got to pull it out of the corner, bring it over here, put it in the middle of my floor, and play, and then I have to unhook it and drag it all the way back over there and put it up.
I'm disappointed in your kids. Because I think that I would imagine if I was a kid, I'd be like, Dad, I want to play. I need to use this wheel.
If they made a game for it in Rec Room, they probably would.
That's true.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. The wheel for me is if you're a sim racer, you absolutely have to have it. But for me, I just don't play enough of them, and I have so many other things I need to play that it's just too much for me to pull out. You know what I mean? And do it. If they came out with a brand new VR racing game tomorrow that featured the wheel, I'd be all over it. It's just
I'll probably use it for Gran Turismo 7 on PSVR 2.
Yeah, like I was all about going into doing the F1 2022 until I just heard it wasn't that great, and then I just kind of bowed out. But I was all about, I'm getting this thing back hooked up. I'm going to do it with a new VR game, and I just heard it wasn't that great. The VR wasn't great. So.
I tried to warn you guys, Codemaster is a nightmare. I don't know what they do with their racing games, but it seems like everyone that they touch just seems to have some kind of really fuckedness to it. Usually around the servers. And
Dash. That's what we need to play.
Yeah, Dash is actually the perfect game because you're racing and you can still use your other hand to throw shit. Super cool.
Anyway, I think that's going to wrap up our episode, man. How are you guys digging it? We've kind of made this move to only playing great games, and I'm having a blast, man. Like, I'm absolutely loving it.
I'm enjoying it a lot, and I was telling Dee this earlier today. I said, there's just a lot of games that, for the newer, the stuff that MASH is always pissed about. We'll let other people cover that stuff, and we'll focus on the good ones and the really, the pertinent ones. So
what are we doing next week? We're going to be doing Red Matter 2 next week. We're going to revisit Half-Life 2 VR next week.
Oh my God, that's
and the icing on the cake, Cyberpunk 2077 Luke Ross mod.
I may skip Gamescom and just stay home and do that with you guys.
Well, you know what you could do, Eric, is what you need to do is squeeze those games in now before you go.
Before Friday.
And then that way you could just it's gonna be early morning. It'd be like have your coffee, sit in with us and the special guest, and talk about VR.
I can tell you this about our special guest. It isn't someone who's got a lot of experience playing PCVR mods. So
nice.
They're going to be starting out with Half-Life 2 VR and Cyberpunk 2077.
I can't wait to get into Half-Life 2 because I have not played it since I got my new video card.
Oh, yeah,
It's going to be amazing.
Me neither.
Anyway, if you don't want to miss this awesome, riveting episode next week, make sure you click that big red button and ring the bell so that you'll be notified when we go live. Lots of other stuff coming up, too. Changes abound. So again, guys, you're going to want to stay in the loop. You know who stays in the loop better than anybody? Our patrons. $3 per month. That's all we ask. Less than $1 per week. You get our weekly show notes. You get insider updates. You get a bunch of teasers like I've been putting out this week. And you get exclusive content. And again, you get to feel good about yourself knowing that you did your part to help support our community and our channel. So shout out to all the patrons out there. We love you all.
Yeah. Actually, and it's, I mean, real reality check here. Like, things like Spider-Man, when that stuff comes out and we, able to pick it up right away, that's usually comes out of the funds, right? They're paying for that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
appreciate
They're
it.
awesome. Yep.
$48 for that game, and it was 100% provided by Patreon. And we've been leaning on them a lot here lately, so it's very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Everyone who's contributed.
And you get the content, so it's a win-win.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Of course, if you guys maybe want to mod games for yourself, need some advice, well, you can always hit us up on Discord. Invitation in the description down below. That's where we hang out. It's where we lurk 24/7, 365. It's where we get together to play multiplayer. It's where we talk about movies and music, cartoons, flat games, you name it. We're talking about it on there. And we invite you all to come and join the conversation. Again, link in the description below.
Yep.
And with that said, friends, I'd like to thank you all once again for watching. For Eric and Roots, I'm Wes. We'll see you very, very soon. Bye now.
Take it easy.
See you later.
Now, before we leave real quick, don't know that I have the right outro linked on here. So
Okay.
I figure it'd be good to just talk to the chat for a second while I fix that
Yeah.
instead of
Sure.
linking
Well,
the
that's
wrong
what
chat.
one,
I'm
right?
doing anyway.
I love talking
Mick-
to chat. Mickey Barrios just slid in. What's up, Mickey? Chatty.
We're on
Mind
what,
jive?
14, right?
Version 14. That is correct, sir.
Geisen is here. Says good night, all.
What's
All
up,
right.
Geisen?
See, that's us fixing. Oh, that's
Austin
Roots
Tatum
fixing it.
is
Okay.
awesome. I heard that. Simplex says bye. What's up,
Yeah.
Simplex?
Simplex. And for real, now we're really going to leave with the right outro. See you later.
Bye-bye, everybody.